because that is something that can be treated.
I think one great thing, Dr. Stanley, I hadn't thought about that before the interview, but getting a group of men and women, heterosexual or homosexual, but particularly a heterosexual group of men and women, and taking the time for them all getting together and going and getting tested together. Good role models in the community.
Yes.
And I bet there'd be a real, as you said, probably some folks who wouldn't want to do it, but I bet we could get a group together, and that would be a great story, TV, radio, and print, to highlight a group of folks who care enough about people around them.
Yes.
Because the sooner you get checked out, probably the more long your life will be, if you found out you're positive.
Yes. And certainly this is something we are working toward.
Right.
I have several pastors that I'm working with to see what we can do.
That's great, absolutely. And very important. I understand care teams working hard to try to reach out into the African American community.
Yes.
You used the word epidemic earlier on. I guess, is that, I mean, is that, are you...
Well, actually it's become an epidemic proportion because, as you said, between women between ages, say, 24 and 44, and mounting numbers.
They really are.
HIV and AIDS, and it's certainly a heterosexual way they received it.
Yeah.
And so we don't want folks to just think that it's just men who have sex with men type thing. You know, it's very heterosexual. Yeah. And some reports that I read show that of the African American babies that are born, 81% of them are born from these women who have been infected. So if we have women that go to the obstetrics office in the first trimester of pregnancy, they can be placed on medication, AZT and others, which could help prevent that baby from developing this condition. So is the need to know.
Another critical aspect there, and support. You highlighted that acronym, PETS. Prevention first.
Yes.
Education, beginning, middle, and end.
Yes.
Treatment, obviously, after you found out, but support. A big thing. You think about the family members, again, because of the stigma, that it's a homosexual man's disease. The family members have to go through that when clearly it can be a heterosexual issue. The loved ones, the people around them, the ones that are worried, oh my Lord, maybe I have it. I mean, a lot of support has to happen.
Right. And certainly in the faith community, as I have told folks, you know, we make folks feel alienated. They come in on that side of the pew. People know their condition. They'll sit on the far end. I said, now we got to start showing that love, that they are made in the image of God, and just by the grace of God, we don't have it, you know, but we got to show those folks that we love them.
That's right.
And I remember my experience when I was a director of health in Richmond, Virginia. My pharmacist gave a patient the medication that was in a different size container. I got a call from this patient's partner, very upset, concerned, because there was the perception that we were hastening that person's demise by decreasing the amount of medication they got. So when I talked with the pharmacist, she did tell me that she gave the same amount of medication, but she did not have the large bottles or containers that she had been given previously, so it was in a smaller container. Therefore, when the patient got home and the partner saw that, the first thing was, you know, you're shortchanging me. You know, but we had to clear that up. So what I'm saying, these people do go through some mental changes, depression, anxiety, paranoia, and all these. So we have to show that compassion, that sensitivity, that cultural competence.
Absolutely.
Love.
Love. And that's whether Christian or not.
Yes,
that's
exactly whether Christian or not. Well,
we got about 5 minutes, Dr. Stanley, and I know you recently gave a speech or talk about the same issue. And number one, got to get the head out of the sand. That's very important. Whoever you're talking to, but learn all we can about the disease and people it's affected. Establish the ministry in the church. Establish an AIDS ministry in the church, and how you go about doing that. Lord only knows. I mean, clearly there's got to be some obstacles there.
And first of all, is with education of the congregation.
Right.
And in our case, I would like to say that we have an association or a union,
Good.
which consists of 37 churches. Since we have high mountains to climb
Right.
on education, we try to get very interested people from different churches
Good.
to work together. As I said, I have 3 pastors in the association who are very amenable to working with me.
Great.
To see what we can do to establish ministry. And the basic thing is letting the folks know that these people need somebody that they can sit down
Right.
and look at their eye level. You are somebody.
Yes.
Go to their home, and then we can help with getting collection to give for them to buy toiletries.
Sure.
And also support programs such as Care Team.
Yes.
There are other programs called Balm and Gilead, which is headquartered in Richmond, Virginia, that has the faith community to meet and have prayer week the first week of March. There are other programs going on, and of course in South Carolina we are working closely with the AME Church, African Methodist Episcopal Church. And we just need to keep pulsing the information to folk that these are our family members.
Yes.
And we must help them to understand that they must take charge of their health.
When you think about that aspect, clearly for you as a medical professional, having seen how quickly a disease can get in your body and just tear your body up,
Yes.
so knowing how critical it is to be there to support them as they're, as you said, oftentimes potentially depression or other symptoms that will go along with that. So to be there for them, but to know as a medical professional how quickly it moves, how important it is to get it out there, whether you've known someone personally or a loved one that's been impacted. Clearly somebody out there in our viewing audience has been, and they know people that are.
Yes. Yeah, don't wait for it to happen in your family or to yourself. They're somebody else's son or daughter.
Absolutely.
You are extended family.
What was it, something in your childhood that got you interested in becoming a pastor and surely, becoming a medical professional? We think about finishing high school there in Charlotte, ending up in the Triangle, I think seeing SUNY Buffalo, where you finished med school, doing residency at UNC Chapel Hill. Clearly you've had a pretty tremendous background there and studying for the MDiv there in, I believe, in Richmond.
Yes.
I mean, you've had a lot of schooling. What was it that got you interested in becoming an active pastor?
Well, I started preparation for medicine in the 5th grade. That's all I wanted to be, was a doctor.
Wow.
The thing about being a minister never
it was always a doctor.
Came to my mind.
Yeah.
And I was called, I remember my senior year in pre-med, but I still did not think of me being a minister. I was going to be this rich, famous doctor.
Well, you've done that.
And I ran 16 years. God allowed me to have a nice practice. And at a particular point where I just worked myself to exhaustion, and while I was recuperating, I think that was the way he got me. That Damascus Road experience. I told you, you are supposed to be a minister, carry my gospel. While I was there, I said, okay, you get me out of here.
I love it.
I'll do it.
So
and the thing about it is being able, when I went to Richmond and went to seminary, that's when I was able to blend
private health or public health and ministry. That's tremendous. And clearly South Carolina wrapped around that idea. And it is critical. How better to reach folks about their health as a medical professional, but B, from the pulpit. And not to say that you would necessarily intentionally mix them together,
No,
but
you don't.
but because you do work for the state, but clearly the state recognizes what you do on your own time is entirely up to you, and as a medical professional you're that first, and but in God's eyes we know what you are first. That's right.
I think it was destined for me to do so because I was involved in the American Public Health Association Faith Health Caucus in 97 and 98 in Boston. And when I moved down here in 98, the Kellogg Foundation, Robert Wood Johnson,
Johnson,
had a turning point.
Right.
And the health faith initiative.
Right.
So that was a perfect crossover for me, a great transition.
Yes.
And so at that point, that's when we were able to blend the two, and I told my staff that we look for holistic care, not just medical, but also the dental, mental, and most of all spiritual, because we know that whether the person's supreme being is Jehovah, God, Allah, you know, there's a supreme being, but we know healing begins from in here, your faith.
Dr. Stanley, could you have ever imagined, even in the 5th grade, when you determined I want to be a medical professional, that you'd be here today making this kind of a difference for folks both in your congregation as well as in this 3-county area, Horry, Georgetown, and Williamsburg, counties that really need DHEC and DX support?
I did not have any idea, not in my wildest imaginations. This is a result of being obedient to God.
Those are great words.
And I'm happy.
That's very simple. That's right. And we can see that in you, both the smiles here and the smiles when folks have a chance to meet you. I'm sorry we've run out of time. Thanks so much for being with us this morning. Stay tuned to a little more with Dr. Covia Stanley and the significance of this impact of HIV and AIDS in the African American community. Coming up next. Is he a typical Union High School graduate? I don't know. He may or he may not be. Goes on, finishes college, finishes med school, finishes residency, has a spectacular private practice, goes on, even wraps up a master's in divinity. What's he doing now? He's telling people to get their heads out of the sand. Get your head out of the sand. Think seriously about something that's growing in epidemic proportions. You can make a difference, but you've got to learn more about it. Take the time to be educated about HIV and AIDS, the serious facts and figures he was providing. African Americans making up 13% of the U.S. population in 2005, but 49% of estimated figure, 49% of new cases being diagnosed with HIV, later going on to AIDS. Take the time to learn more, be involved. You can prevent it, but you've got to get the education. Dr. Stanley's making a difference every day, stepping out to make sure education's provided, but there's still going to be treatment and support. Thanks so much for everything you do.
You're great.